Hi, I'm Mrs. Page. I teach English at Inside Virtual Academy, and today we're going to make sure that you're 100% plagiarism free. If you follow these steps, you're going to be good to go. So, avoiding plagiarism, you're going to do this by learning how to do citations and works cited. So I want you to imagine that you worked for hours, days, weeks, years on something. It could be a short story, a comic book, game, painting, song, anything like that. And then someone comes and sees it and acts like it belongs to him or her. And they publish it under his or her name and they use it to make money. Would you be angry? I'd be angry. So plagiarism is defined as stealing or passing off the ideas or words of another as one's own, to use another's production without crediting the source. And so oftentimes the reason why it becomes an issue is when someone gains something from it. And so, like with our example, if you're getting paid for doing that, then that is an extreme issue. And so when you're plagiarizing for an assignment, you're getting paid with your grades. So, reminder, plagiarism is using the words, ideas, thoughts, or images of anyone else without permission or citation. There are different types of plagiarism, though. There's the deliberate type, and then there's the accidental type. And so deliberate means that you're rewriting it from books or articles or copying and pasting from web pages and online sources to create kind of a patchwork of writing. And if you buy, download, or borrow a paper, that's also plagiarism. You're doing it on purpose. Accidental plagiarism is when you don't know when or how to cite, you don't know how to paraphrase or summarize, you don't quite know what common knowledge is, and so you don't know when or when not to use the citations for those, or you recycle an old paper that you wrote for maybe a different assignment and resubmit it for a new assignment. Big thing that you've got to remember is copying and pasting is plagiarism, because if you don't cite, then it is plagiarism. So if you copy and paste information, you have to tell where you got it from. But you cannot use all copy and pasted as an answer to your assignment. You have to do mostly your own words, and then those pieces that you take from other sources to back up what you're saying, you put those in and make sure to give credit to those persons or the entity that first said that. So what's the big deal? Honesty matters at Insight. We want to know what you think, you know, and you learn. We have an integrity policy, and put simply, you cannot plagiarize. You have to give credit where it's due. And if you have any questions about the plagiarism or how to avoid it, make sure to reach out to your teacher and know that we're here to help you out. We don't want you to have issues, so we're going to help you to figure it out so that way you don't have to have this problem in the future. There are consequences for plagiarizing. Here at Insight, the first offense, you receive a 0 in the gradebook, and then you have to meet with the teacher to view a plagiarism video and complete a plagiarism education survey. And then you would rework whatever you plagiarized and resubmit it. On the second offense, you receive a 0 in the gradebook and you have to meet with the teacher again, and this time you and the teacher work through the assignment together to ensure that you completely understand how to remove that plagiarism piece to it and then resubmit it. If you have third or future offenses, you're going to automatically get a 0 in the gradebook and no opportunity to resubmit those assignments. Alright, so how do we figure out plagiarism? We have what's called Turn It In, which will evaluate what you turned in and tell us a percentage of what has been taken from a different source, and it'll highlight it for us so that way we can see it. There's other things that we can do too, like if there's a certain phrase that pops up and you're like, that doesn't quite sound right, or maybe it doesn't sound like what the student usually does, we can do Google searches just like you guys do to help you find information and things. And so like this example, 3 sloping couches, with this, you know, if you put it in, 3 sloping couches comes up as a source. And so we know that that was taken from a web source already and used. But with this example, obviously they didn't cite the source. That's why it is plagiarized. All right, if your teacher has turned on the ability, you'll be able to see this Turnitin report whenever you turn it in. You just have to go to your assignments and view feedback, and then you'll be able to see, like here at the bottom, it says Turnitin similarity, 78%. There will be a percentage if you submit the original document in with it, because that means another student has submitted that first portion of the assignment already. So it's going to give a percentage for that, but we're aware of that, so don't worry about if you see a percentage in there. If you see it in the red, then that usually tells you that most, if not all of it, was taken from another source, so you need to go back and reevaluate. All right, so remember, plagiarism is whenever you use the words, the ideas, or even the images, the graphics from another source and you did not give proper credit. So big thing is you need to remember you must cite everything that is not common knowledge, no exceptions. And common knowledge means, you know, everyone would know it at this point. If you're not sure if it's common knowledge, just go ahead and cite it. So bottom line, the harsh reality, you're not an expert, I'm not an expert, even if we think we are. So you must cite everything that is not common knowledge, even if you already knew it. If you had to look up the information, note the source. If you are not sure if it's common knowledge, just go ahead and note the source. You can't have too many sources noted, but you can have too few and get in trouble for plagiarism. So we use the MLA handbook for writers and research papers, etc. MLA gives us exactly what needs to be done, how to do the in-text citations and works cited. So that would be where how we go about doing it. And so these are the 2 things, the in-text citations and works cited page. So you cite all words, ideas, and thoughts that you use from a website or other source. In-text citations means that you tell who said it or what company said it within the information itself. At the end, then, you put a works cited where you give the very detailed information from the web source or whatever source you used. So here's a website I'm going to get my information from, and here's some of the information that I pulled from it. I decide that I'm going to use these 3 pieces. And so if I'm doing an in-text citation, a direct quote, I make sure I put my quotations around it because that's what they said exactly. If I put it into my own words, it was still their idea to begin with, so I still need to give them credit. And so you can do this one of 2 ways. You can just mention the authors or the publisher, the title in the actual sentence itself, so that way we know where it came from. Or at the very end, you can put it in parentheses, kind of like in the paraphrased example. So that way, right at the end, before the period, you say who you got that information from. And so here's an example of a paper that was written, and so you'll see that the colors match with each other. So like the brown Great 1929 goes with the Great Depression 1929-1939 in the works cited, and it gives all the details, what the title was, all the dates that were covered, what the web address is, and can you imagine trying to put that in the paper? It'd be too confusing. And so that's why we do like the parentheses with the shortened information, and then you go to the works cited and be able to actually get the full information from it. So it must be an MLA format for works cited and the in-text citation. Whenever you're trying to create those works cited, you can go to citationmachine.net/MLA. It's my favorite. With easybib.com, you can also use that, but make sure when you click into it, you choose the MLA formatting. So that way you do it in the correct format. whenever you're doing this, there's many different ways that you have to cite the different sources. Mostly you'll be using websites, and you'll practice it a lot. But if you want further information on it, or would like to find out exactly how that works for those pieces, you could go to owl.english.purdue.edu, and they can give you further information on exactly what to do for each one. MLA formatting also tells us how the page is laid out, like where the title goes, how you do the type of font that you use, the size of it, all of that. And so here's kind of an example of what a properly formatted MLA paper looks like with all those formatting pieces that MLA requires. If you have a question, like whether or not you're supposed to do it in that kind of formatting, make sure to reach out to your teacher, and one of the best ways you can do that is you go to your class's homepage for the teacher that you need, click on the course materials in the colored class content box, and then scroll down to teacher contact information, and that should be the second one down. And you use that information to contact your teacher, whether that's Skype, email, phone, text if you have the DocuSign done, etc. Now, what you do if you had plagiarized a piece is you need to go back and remove the sources. You use only your words and ideas based upon what you read or learned. Or you can go back and reword the information or put it into quotation marks and make sure to cite the sources that you used. Remember, your responses must be mostly your own ideas and words. So make your claim or answer to the question entirely in your own ideas or words, which is usually where you start, especially with the shortened assignments. Then use 1 to 2 quotations or paraphrased information per paragraph from other sources to support what you claim or answer. So like if we're talking with the part 2s where you're using the text, then you would actually use 1 to 2 quotations or paraphrased pieces of information from that text to support what you said in your own words, your own ideas at the beginning to support that. All right. Your teacher may say otherwise on the 1 to 2 quotations or paraphrased information, so make sure to go by what your teacher says depending on the assignment that you're doing. Just remember, our assignments are testing your comprehension, knowledge, and skills, not the internet's. So we can't help you to understand and do better if we're not seeing your actual work. And here is my Works Cited page for all of the images and information that I used as well. Thank you so much for coming, and if you have any questions, please reach out to your teacher.